History remembers the victor, the savior of the Union. But before he was a legend, he was a master of misfortune. To understand the man who won the world, we must first look at the man who lost everything. This is the story of Abraham Lincoln, the architect of failure. He was born into nothingness. In a one-room cabin with a dirt floor, survival was the only curriculum. Poverty wasn't just a condition for young Abraham, it was a shadow that would follow him for the rest of his life. At age 9, the first pillar of his world collapsed. His mother, Nancy, died of milk sickness. In the wilderness, there was no time for a childhood. He helped his father carve the wooden pegs for her coffin. Failure to save her would haunt his dreams. With less than a year of formal schooling, he was a self-made mind. He read until the candles burned out, then read by the fire. He was preparing himself for a world that seemed determined to keep him in the mud. In his 20s, he tried his hand at business. The store failed, leaving him with a mountain of debt he called the national debt. He spent 15 years paying it back. To his neighbors, he was Honest Abe, but to himself, he was a bankrupt dreamer. Then came Anne Rutledge, his first true love. When typhoid fever took her, Lincoln's mind fractured. Friends feared he would take his own life. He walked the woods alone, talking to the wind. The architect of failure was losing his grip on reality. He turned to politics, seeking a voice. He ran for the state legislature and lost. He ran for Congress and was ignored. Every time he reached for the light, the darkness of public rejection pulled him back down. He became a lawyer, riding the circuit on horseback for months at a time. He slept in crowded inns with strangers, practicing law in makeshift courtrooms. It was a life of isolation, a long, lonely march toward an uncertain finish line. His marriage to Mary Todd was a storm of its own. High-strung and ambitious, Mary pushed him, but their home was often a theater of sorrow. They were two wounded souls trying to build a life on shifting sands. Death returned to his doorstep. His 3-year-old son, Eddie, passed away after weeks of illness. Lincoln, the man who couldn't win a race or a fortune, now couldn't even keep his children alive. The weight of failure was becoming physical. In 1858, he challenged the giant Stephen Douglas for the Senate. He spoke with the tongue of an angel, but the voters chose the status quo. Another loss, another dead end. But the world was starting to listen to the man who wouldn't quit. Then, a spark in the dark. At Cooper Union, the Westerner stunned the Eastern elite. He spoke of right over might. For the first time, his failures had forged a steel-trap logic that no one could ignore. The impossible happened. The man who lost so much was elected president of a crumbling nation. But as the news broke, the South began to secede. His victory was the catalyst for a catastrophe. He took the oath of office as the country tore itself apart. Cannons roared at Fort Sumter. The architect of failure was now the commander of a house divided against itself. Could a man who struggled to manage a store manage a civil war? In the midst of national carnage, personal tragedy struck again. His favorite son, Willie, died in the White House. Lincoln walked the halls at night, crying out, "My boy is gone. He is actually gone." The burden was almost too much for one soul to bear. He realized that to save the Union, he had to transform the war. With a stroke of a pen, he signed the Emancipation Proclamation. He was no longer just a politician, he was a liberator. turning his personal pain into a weapon for justice. At Gettysburg, he spoke for only 2 minutes. He didn't celebrate victory, he honored the dead. He redefined democracy itself, speaking of a new birth of freedom. The man who had failed so often was now the voice of a nation's conscience. The end was in sight. He walked the streets of the fallen Confederate capital, not as a conqueror, but as a tired man seeking peace. He had lost his youth, his children, and his peace of mind, but he had won the future of his country. On Good Friday, 1865, the architect finished his work. The war was over. The Union was saved. But for Abraham Lincoln, the final price of his victory was yet to be paid. In the shadows of Ford's Theater, history waited. Abraham Lincoln lost almost every battle he fought in his personal life, only to win the one battle that mattered for humanity. He proved that failure is not a destination, but the forge in which greatness is tempered. He lost everything, and in doing so, he won the world.